All right. So what you need from the portal, if you haven't done this already, is under the contents tab in milestones, right there. You need these 3 files. You need to download Canadian Wildlife Federation, the Word doc, the logo, and this logo. We actually need both of the logos. One is a stacked logo, so it's square, and the other one's horizontal. So I'm gonna down all of those, and I'm just gonna download them to my desktop. I'm not even gonna put them in a folder on my desktop, because I'm gonna show you how InDesign, when we save our file at the end, we can actually file package, and that's gonna collect all our fonts, our graphics, our images, our page. It'll even create a PDF for us and put it all in one handy folder for us. So if you had a file on your network, on your G drive, and you didn't download it from there onto your desktop, you just grabbed it from there, and you put stuff in your downloads folder, and you grab stuff from there, and you had stuff on your desktop. What InDesign is going to do when we save as package, it's going to collect all those things and put them in one folder for us. Do not open your template across the network, though. So if your template is saved on an external drive, like your G drive, if you went to your network, make sure you download that to your desktop. That should be somewhere on your desktop. Otherwise, you might crash InDesign, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm downloading the Canadian Wildlife Federation pollinators doc, and that's going to my desktop, just as is. Not going to create a folder. I'm going to be lazy this time so you can see what happens with the package. We need the CWF logo here. I'm just throwing it on my desktop. Also notice it's a PNG file, so it's not adequate for print. Today we're setting up the whole brochure to make it look awesome. And then next week we're going to take a look at how we modify those that content. We can open it up in Illustrator. We can open some stuff up in Photoshop. We can make the necessary corrections and relink them to our final file so that we have the proper files in our document for sending for print. Okay, so you need to save the pollinators Word doc, the CWF logo, and the CWF logo horizontal. All right, so I've got all of those, and I'm just saving them to my desktop so I know where they are. And the other thing you're going to need is your template. So you need to go to your assignments, and if you go to your print templates, if you click on the submission, you can download your own templates from there. Whoops, I'm going to save that to my desktop too. All right, and now I'm all set to go. I'm going to minimize my screen here. Woo. That one too. And I don't think I need this open anymore, but I'll just minimize it. All right, so now I have my templates right here. There's my templates. There's my stacked logo. There's my horizontal logo. And somewhere on my desktop is the, there it is the Word doc. All right, so how is everyone doing? You have your all right, can everyone see the group chat?
No. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So does everyone have their files ready? There's 15 of you logged on. That's the most I've had all week. Oh, except for my Monday class. My Monday class had 24 of 26 students logged in. So they're getting a little worried about getting finished up because they have client meetings today. So everybody showed up for that class. All right, why my submitted draft is not in my submitted. Oh, your draft? Did you look in your, let's see. Did you look in the right folder? It should be print templates. It should be in the print templates assignments. Or maybe you should check one of your other folders in case you accidentally put it in another folder. So you don't click on print templates here to the left. In order to download your submitted file from the portal, you have to click on your submission file here. So if you click here, it doesn't show up in the list. It doesn't show up. So what you need to do is to make sure you click on your submission file here. And that's where you can download your files from. All right, so once you have those, we need to launch our template. So first, you have to double click your zip folder or extract your files on your PC. I'm on a Macintosh, so I'm just double clicking. For those of you on a PC, if you double click, it will open the folder and just drag and drop out onto your desktop what you need. And what we need is our Trifold Brochure template. The one, it's going to have a letter T in it, an INDT. That means it's your template, and hopefully you named it template as well. If it's an INDD, then it's a live document and it's not a template. So just keep that in mind when you're opening your files. So I'm going to double click it. And it's going to launch InDesign for me. So you don't have to have InDesign open in order to open an InDesign document or a template. All you have to do is double click on any InDesign file or any InDesign template and it will launch. And here we go. So let's see. Everyone got their templates. So this is what it looks like. And because it is a template, my internet. I hope everyone has pretty good Wi-Fi right now. And also, I hope you all noticed too that all the internet providers are not charging any overages for this month. I think they're not till the end of April, and it might even go to the end of May. So no overages for data. No, you're just paying your base plan. So that's pretty nice. All of the, just check with your provider, but Rogers, Bell, and all those guys came up to the plate and said they're not charging any overages. All right, so we should be good for classes right now. That was part of the issue too, because they knew a lot of schools were moving to online learning. So here we go. We have our page or panel 261 on page 1 and page 3, 4, or panel 3, 4, 5 on page 2. So this is what you should have. And if you don't have this red line, do not worry about it. That red line indicates that I added bleed to this document and I don't need it. And the reason why we're not going to use bleed today, and what does bleed even mean? Bleed means that when you print off a brochure, we print it on a bigger piece of paper and then we trim it out to the actual side that we need. But what that allows us to do is it looks like it's printed right to the edges, but that costs more money. So in a budget, if we're stuck with a smaller budget and we have to do everything within that budget, then what we're going to do is we're not going to use bleed. We're not going to make it look like it's printed to the edge, and we're going to stay inside our safe area which are these pink margins. So that means we're going to have a white edge. We're going to have a white frame around both our pieces of paper here when we print them, because printers, so the printers used at school say, you cannot access a printer that prints all the way to the edge. There are a few photo printers out there that can, but for the most part, almost all printers can't print right to the edge of the paper, right? So that means you'd have to send it to a printer who can print it on bigger paper and then trim them all out. That's a cost. So we're going to stick within our budget. We're not going to use this red line here that I have on mine, and I'm going to get rid of it by showing you document setup. And I can go down here to bleed, and I can just change that to 0. And what that will do is, as you can see, it eliminates that red line that indicates how far I would have to extend that image. Now it's gone. We are only going to apply our graphics and our text to the inside of these margins right here, so that we don't have to worry about having to print to the edge. We can't afford to. That's fine. We're gonna make a really nice looking brochure without the extra having it look like it's printed to the edge. All right, you're working on it. All right. So, ooh, we have 18 people logged on. That's fantastic. Good morning for those of you who are just coming in. If you're just coming in, please make sure to have your template, and make sure also in the portal here under contents, make sure you go to the milestones folder and download Canadian Wildlife Federation, the Pollinators Word Doc, and both logos. So you need these 3 things, the last 3 things in the list. Make sure you download those to your desktop so you have them for placing in your new launched InDesign template. Okay. Oh, we just lost somebody. Ah. All right. So the next thing, I'm going to show you the tools that we're going to use today. So I'm just going to drag this over. The tools that we are going to be using today to create this brochure is our black arrow, which is called the selection tool. We're going to be using the text tool or the type tool. We're going to be using this rectangle frame tool. The frame tool, don't to confuse it with the rectangle tool. The frame tool is an empty frame in which we can place photos. So see the one with the X in it? That's the frame. That's the empty frame we want in order to place our images. Now you don't need to place a frame to place an image. When you place images, they automatically come with a frame, but you can click on a frame that you've already set up in which to place an image. So I'll show you both methods of doing that. So far we have the selection tool we're using, the type tool, the frame tool, and last but not least, we will be using the color theme tool to sample colors.
जाके लिंक है कॉनर्स लोगा थे और सारा ट्राइफोल्ड समझांदी पई है वो होना नहीं है
Who is that? There, sorry. I just muted you. If you have any questions, please type them in the group chat. Okay. I will see your name come up so I know who's asking the question. And I can either type in a response, or if it's something that everybody needs that I can repeat the last step, if that's what you're asking me to do, I'll repeat the last step. So please make sure you have the chat window open so that you can see or add your questions as we go along. All right. So here we go back to our page. So once again, the selection tool, type tool, frame tool, rectangle frame tool, and the color theme tool. We're using those 4 tools today, and that's all we need to do to create this entire brochure. So the first thing I'm going to get you to do actually is click on the rectangle tool. Okay, so we need this rectangle tool selected. And somewhere here I have, yeah, remember I made this, this mock-up. The mock-up is going to tell us what's going to go on each panel. So I don't know if you can see that. There you go. I have put some notes here. There's a big X through my page indicating that that's going to be for an image. So I've already sketched on here what I need. I also at the bottom wrote website URL. So we're going to be putting that on there as well. So I sketched out what we needed to put on our brochure. So whenever you're working on a brochure with a client, or for work, or for whoever has asked you to create this, figure out what needs to go in there and then sketch out. And you don't even have to sketch. You don't even have to do little sketches or artwork. Just put a big X. That indicates that in a box, that indicates that that's a frame for an image. And then you can write down the name of the image. If they've been provided already, you can say, oh, well, that's the name of the file. So I'll put the name of the file here and I know that's where that goes. And then on here, you can see, oh, page 2 has the logo and we start the text here. Then when I open this up, I have a picture, and one of our pictures is actually going across the entire top of that page. And then the text is going at the bottom. And when I close this up, I have contact information and I have a logo at the bottom. So I have predetermined how we're going to lay out our brochure today. So let's start adding our picture boxes, our frames. Okay. So that's using this frame tool. And what I want you to do is click and drag a frame from the upper left-hand corner of panel 1 all the way to the bottom right corner. And see how that fills in with an X? The X indicates that that is a picture box. We will be placing a photo in there later. So step 1, frame tool and draw a frame. Now frames are only for pictures, they're not for text. If I clicked and dragged a text box, the difference between the two, well, notice there's no X in a text box. The X is for images, that's our frame. The empty box with a flashing cursor is for text. So we're going to place the few frames that we need for our pictures. So we know we need one on our panel 1. Click on the rectangle frame tool and click and drag one for your logo on panel 6. Right here. And according to my layout, on panel 2, I've also put the stacked logo at the top. So we need another frame, like so. There we go. So this is what I have so far. I have added a frame for my cover image, a frame for the logo on the back panel, panel 6, and a picture frame on panel 2 for the other logo. So I'm going to have both logos, the stacked one and the horizontal one, on this brochure. So how are we doing? Say wait if you aren't to this point yet. Okay, so I have a few waits. If you need to move your toolbox around, you can move it to any side you want as you need it by clicking on that. We don't want to click on the X or we lose our tools. If you click on this little tab here with the little double arrows, it can go horizontal. Click on the little double arrows again. It can go in 2 columns or it can go in a single column. So Adobe allows you to set up your workspace however you like. So that gives you complete control over your workspace and and how your tools are organized. It's completely up to you. Now, if you accidentally lose your tools, oh no, you click the X. Where do you get your tools back from? Everything is under your window menu. So if you're not seeing your properties palette, you can go here to properties. So I've accidentally erased or got rid of my tools. So under the window menu, I can go back to tools and get them back. So if you've accidentally turned things off, don't worry about it. Sometimes we use keyboard shortcuts and we've hit one wrong key and poof, we lose some of our windows. So don't worry about it. They're all under here, under the Windows tab. So don't, and it happens to the best of us, don't worry. You are not alone in that. Just because you're a beginner doesn't mean that those of us who use it all the time don't do the same thing every once in a while. Okay, so back to, do you have your frames clicked and dragged on your first 3 panels? And I have to say, my dog licked me and he caught my glasses, so I got a smudge. Oh, that's better. I can see again. That's fantastic. All right. So now that we have our first 3 frames, let's scroll down to page 2 and panels 3, 4, 5. And we need a frame, a rectangle frame across the entire top of our page. Yep, we're going to take up the entire top half of page 2 to go across panels 3, 4, and 5. Now, is it okay to run this through this entire panel? It is, because when we open up our brochure, like so, it's flat. It's flat, so we're okay to run a picture all the way through here. We wouldn't want to run a picture through here because, well, it's folded and we would only see a partial of that photo, and that wouldn't make sense to do that on these pages here. So treat panels 1, 2, and 6 as individual panels. They stand alone, but we can treat panels 3, 4, 5 on page 2 as a continuous page because it opens flat. All right, how'd we do? Are we good? All right, I see some nods. So the next thing we're going to do is go back to panel 1. We need to select that box so we can place our image. Actually, we're going to place our logos first because we don't have our images yet. You may have already collected your images based on milestone 1, but I'm going to go to pexels.com so we can just do a review on how many pixels per inch we need in order to have an adequate size for our images. And so I'm going to review that. And then we're also going to go to the CWF website and select the 3 photos that visually represent the text that we're putting on the bottom on page 2. Notice I drew that text frame and see how it's selected. What I need to do now is select my selection tool in the toolbox, and that's your black arrow at the top of your toolbox. And I don't want that box. I'm going to scroll up to panel 6, and I'm going to click on that frame. Once you've got your frame selected, now we can put a picture in it. So the picture we're putting in here is actually the first logo. So with that frame selected with your selection tool, go to File, Place. We never copy paste, we always file place. That goes for text, that goes for everything we're going to be putting in here. You can paste once you're inside. You can always copy paste once you've got them all placed on your pages. But before you do any copy paste, you need to place your elements first. So we are going to File, Place. It's going to locate. We need to find that CWF logo. We want the horizontal one. So please select the horizontal one for panel 6. And lo and behold, it's too big. there are many, many things I like about InDesign. One of the best things in InDesign is this fantastic thing in the properties panel here. So can everyone see their properties panel? Everyone's got their properties panel. If you have your black arrow selected and you have your frame selected, it will reveal all the properties of your frame. And if you scroll down to the bottom, see where it says frame fitting? I want you to click on fit content proportionately. There we go. It is fit the logo in there proportionately. We'll leave that the way it is. It looks a little big, right? Or it looks a little small in the space. And remember I told you last week we like to clean up our boxes. So what I'm going to do is take the frame. That's again, you still have your black arrow, your selection tool selected. Click on any side anchor point, not the corner, on the side. And let's tighten up the box around our logo, like so. If I Control plus, or on a Mac, Command plus, you can see that it no longer fits the screen. Well, it did before. See how I had it nicely fitting inside the margins? So there are two things that we can do here. You can either double click on the logo and see it reveals the picture inside the frame, which you can move around. If you hover over this white circle that shows up in the middle, see how I can move the logo around inside the frame? And the picture inside the frame is indicated by these orange lines. If I double click, that's the frame the picture is sitting in. And I can use that as a cropping tool if I want to. If I don't need this entire logo, what if I only need part of it? I can use this as a cropping tool, like, whoops, come back. I can use this as a cropping tool like so. So we have two ways that we can enlarge the logo inside the frame. So if I kept my frame as big as the space I need to fill it with, if I double click, there's the orange bounding box for the picture inside the frame. And I can grab a corner anchor point, hold Shift while I click and drag and make the element bigger inside the box. See that? Now when I click away to reveal it, it's now fitting edge to edge inside the frame. And I can clean that up even more, like so. But if we chose, when we place this file, to fit the content proportionately, notice it's not big enough. So here's another way to make it bigger. So I'm going to reduce the size of the frame. I'm going to make it as tight as I can to the logo, like so. And now I need it to fill the space. If I only grab a corner anchor point at this point, all I'm doing is changing the size of the frame. How do I change the size of the frame and the picture inside the frame? Well, you hold Control Shift. So put Control Shift down, hold those down. Now grab the corner anchor point, click and drag. And now the picture and the frame enlarge at the same time. And then you can use your arrow keys to nudge that into place. So how do you do that? Let's go back to that. Step one is we had a frame with our frame tool drawn on the page. So there's our frame ready to take our placed image. With that frame selected, File, Place, locate the file you need to place, which is the horizontal logo. hit open, and there it is. It's clearly too big for the space. So in your properties palette, at the bottom of the screen is fit content proportionately. There we go. It now fits. So there are white pixels in this logo, which is why it's fitting as much as it can in the space. We want to give it the appearance, because this is white and our paper is white. We want to give the logo the appearance that it fits from edge to edge in this space. So with the black arrow, I can double click and holding shift, increase the size of the logo inside the frame like so. Or if I double click to make sure I have my blue frame selected, I'm going to make this as tight as I can to the picture inside the frame. Like so. I don't want to cut off the tail here. So now it no longer fits, but if I hold Control Shift, on a Mac it's Command, on Control Shift on your PC, grab a corner anchor point, click and drag to make your box bigger. What that does is it enlarges the frame and the picture inside the frame. And now it fits. Let go of my two keys now so I can click on the object and move it into place. And there we go. So Control 0, let's see what that looks like. So it now fits nicely in the space. So in the interest of repetition, we are going to place another logo, and we are going to also repeat that whole process. So on panel 2, click on your frame that you placed there. You drew there with the rectangle frame. It must be selected if we're going to place an image in that box. Once again, File, Place, and if you notice the keyboard shortcut, Control D for placing. I'm not even gonna try to figure out why they chose the letter D. So Control D or File, Place, and let's now place the other logo. So we have this one. You'll notice that this one comes in with a lot of mess in it. So we're going to need to crop out all this other junk we don't need. So we're gonna open that and woohoo, there it is. It is massive, right? So what you need to do is go down to your properties palette, down to frame fitting again. And I wanna show you the difference between fit the content proportionately. So my box is taller than the amount of pixels that are in this file. So it either fits by width or it fits by height, depending on the size of your box. What if I hit the button under frame fitting to fill frame proportionately? Well, now it's filling the frame despite some of that image being cut off. It's going to fill your frame proportionately. Now, we don't want these black boxes. We need to clean this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to start moving the box so it's closer. Now, remember, the devil's in the details. So what should we do? Control plus. Let's move in on that object so that we can get a better view and a tighter, cleaner crop of that logo. There we go. So now I've got a really nice tight little crop, but I now need to fill this space. So Control, Shift, hold those together, grab a corner anchor point, and increase the size of your picture and the frame at the same time to fill the space. Like so. There we go. Now I'm lined up with my margins. And Control 0, let's see what that looks like. We are now centered and we have nicely filled that space. All right, so we have 2 logos now. All right. Please show the frame fix again. Yep. All right, so back to panel 2. I have the rectangle frame tool. Click and drag a box. This frame is what I'm going to file, place my logo in. There it is. It clearly doesn't fit. And the nice thing about InDesign is you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to make sure that things are all the right size, because what InDesign is for layout design, which means you can play with pictures and you can see how they all look and you can fit them however you like, because inevitably you're going to have a client that goes, oh, you know what? You know that picture you have on page 225 and 189 and 137? Can you change all those pictures? And it might change your layout. So this is just a way to work out a layout and get everything on there that you need to do. We process all the pictures later. So right now we're just playing with our design and we're getting to see how everything fits. So now that I have this picture placed, my logo placed, I don't know why, can everyone see that? Internet unstable. I'm sitting, my modem is literally right behind me on the shelf. So now that I've placed my image, I need to have, the box is selected, right? So under properties, if you don't see it, then just make sure you have your black arrow selected in order to get all the options for that particular box, all the properties to display here in the properties palette. At the bottom in frame fitting, I'm going to choose fit frame. Well, fit frame doesn't quite fill my box, so I'm going to choose fill frame proportionally. There we go. Now I'm going to Control plus and zoom in and grabbing a side anchor point. I usually don't use the corners. You can, but if I'm going to line this up on all sides, well, I like to use the side anchor points like so. Now you don't need to hold shift because the only thing we're doing is modifying the frame. So there's no proportion to think about right now. Control plus, let's see, how did we do? Are we nice and tight? Yes, we are. For those of you who are worried about how pixelated your logo is, while we fix that, so that's how we fix the frame. We'll enlarge it in a second. Under the view menu, if you go to display performance, you might have what's called typical display on. So typical display doesn't allow you to preview your images in high res, because InDesign is a layout program for multiple pages. It's expecting you to do multiple page layouts. So it's going to turn your high res preview off so that you can work faster, because it takes longer for your computer to display at a high resolution. So that's why it does that. So if you want to see it at high res, what you do is you go under view to display performance and change that to high quality display. And then your logo, mine was already set up for that. Your logo will display at a higher resolution. So that's a good indicator to know whether your photo is high resolution enough, is if you're in high quality display and it still looks pixelated, well, your image probably isn't adequate enough then for print. Right, so now that we have this logo on here, I've cropped it using the frame. So you can see how you can crop the image however you like. I've got my box nice and tight here. So now with Control and Shift held down at the same time, grab a corner anchor point, click and drag both the frame and the picture inside the frame to the size I need it to fill the space. And I'm using my margins as my guides, so I am perfectly aligned, which makes us unified and organized. So there we go. The next thing we're going to do is we need a picture. for this panel and a picture for this panel. Notice panel 1 is very vertical. And notice panel 3, 4, 5 is very horizontal. If you want to see what size this frame is, click on the frame with your selection tool, go to your properties palette, and look, there's the width and there's the height. So the width here is just over 3 inches wide. The size of the image we need to fill the width is 300 dots per inch, right? We need 300 pixels per inch for adequate for print. So if we multiply 300 by 3, we need 900 pixels. So let's round that up a little bit because we do have a +1. So we need at least 900 pixels wide. Now, what about this panel? Let's click on this wide frame. We have 10.5 inches. 10.5 inches times 300, well, that's over 3,000 pixels wide we need our image to be in order to adequately fill this space so it's adequate for print. So let's go to pexels.com. And let's take a look and do a quick review of what it means to have the right size image. All right, so what we're doing is we're downloading 2 images. Now, if you've already downloaded your images, that's okay, but you can always download a couple more if you wish. So we are looking for pollinators because that's what our brochure is all about. The CWF text is about pollinators. So I have to plug in my computer, sorry. And I'm at low capacity. There we go. So whenever you get anything from a client, you should always read the content and then decide what the subject matter is. And then we're trying to visually represent the text. So just because the Canadian Wildlife Federation, they help with all sorts of endangered species and species around the world. So polar bears, whales, birds, all sorts of creatures. But this particular brochure is concentrating on pollinators. So we have to make sure we select the right images to represent the text inside the brochure, not just the overall representation of Canadian Wildlife Federation. So that's why we're looking for pollinators. So we're going to visually communicate that. So let's look for some pictures. Here we go. This is a lovely photo. I've used this one already. And we're looking for a vertical image for our cover. So this one could be good. Now, what I want you to pay close attention to is, now, this would be nice, but it's not one of the butterflies identified in my in the document. So there are bees in the document. If I'm going to select any one of these photos, do note that the tall, narrow nature of that vertical image we need for our cover, some of this is going to be cut off. So if I clicked on this image and decided to use this image on my cover, I have to make sure it's adequate in size to crop the sides off. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. So this looks adequate, but I am going to be trimming quite a bit of the image off the sides. So I probably will go, to be safe, go with the bigger file. Now, I'm not a big fan of that one. Let's see. I'm going to select another file. So I'm looking for a cover image. This one's pretty nice, but I'm going to go a little more generic here. This one's lovely. I used that yesterday. If you choose something like this, do note, once again, you're going to have to crop the center part of that image out, and then it might not be adequate for print. These are quite lovely, aren't they? There's lots of great pictures in here. So let's grab something. This guy's nice. He's a pollinator. So if I click on that image, knowing I'm going to crop most of this out. Let's see if it's adequate for print. I'm going to go for this big one. So once you've chosen your image, download it from here. All right. Sorry, I'm not going to give you credit. All right, so there's the picture that I chose. And it's in my downloads folder. And they are copyright. You're allowed to use these for commercial use, which is why I like it. Now I need a horizontal picture to go on the inside of my panels 3, 4, 5. So let's see what I can do here. Ooh, this guy looks pretty neat. There's some beautiful pictures here, aren't there? This guy looks pretty good. There's some great images here. Kudos to the photographers who upload to pexels.com. All right, so I need a nice horizontal picture. This is a honeybee. Now they are pollinators. Pollinators help pollinate plants, including the honeybee. Oh, look at this guy. I like him. That's pretty horizontal. All right, so that's a good horizontal picture. I'm gonna have to crop a bit off the top, and I'm gonna have to crop a whole bunch off the bottom. Why? Because I need a very wide but very shallow image. So is this gonna be wide enough? Well, I can't use it anyway. Oh, no, I can. I'm pretty close to my 3,000 pixels wide that I need, right? In order to fill that 10.5-inch space with 300 dots per inch. So this one's actually pretty close to my 3,000. So I can download that one. So that's now gone into my, oh, we grow these in our garden too. So that's now in my downloads folder. And please, please, please do not right click to save the image as in pexels.com, because you will get the low res version. This is actually a thumbnail of the high res image. So always, always download from this list here, okay, in order to get the high res image. Now that I have those two images, let's go back to InDesign and let's place them. So here we go. All right, no more questions so far. How does everyone have two pictures? Make quick decisions. Make quick decisions. You know, you can always go back later and find some new photos and replace the links. So next week, we'll be using this exact same file. We're going to process our images for print because this is a PNG. It's not adequate for print. So we have to do a modification to this. We will open our photos in Photoshop and we'll crop them to exactly what we need for our final product for print. All right. Looks like everyone has their pictures. Fantastic. So what we're going to do is with our black arrow, our selection tool, click on your frame tool or your frame for panel 1. You can do Control D or File Place. See, there's the keyboard shortcut. And now locate that file. Mine happens to be in my downloads folder. What is it called? I have no idea. So I'm going to display with the last thing I added to my list. There it is. So that's something I could have done, is I could have written down the name of the file when it downloaded. So I need this guy right here. Yellow, my yellow bee. And whoa. So the next thing I have to do, isn't that crazy? Look how big that is. So with the frame fitting tool, let's see what happens if I hit fit content proportionately. Well, I don't have enough image to fit the entire photo in my frame. So I'm going to move to the left and fill the frame proportionately. That's exactly what I want, except I want a bit more of the flower because it is pollinators, and pollinators pollinate flowers. So if I hover over this this circle here, it turns into a hand tool. See that? I'm going to click, hold, and drag my image. You can even see the image. It gives you a transparent display so you can see what you might be placing. So I'm going to drag it right about there. I like that placement. Now, if you didn't quite get it exactly where you wanted, what you can do is double click to select the picture inside the frame, which is revealed by the orange box, and use your arrow keys, and you can nudge your picture into place. Okay, and that's by double clicking. So if I double click, I now have the blue frame that the picture is sitting in. I double click to get the orange bounding box of the photo inside the frame. So just note that everything is in 2 pieces. All right, how'd we do? Still getting them. Still have a few people trying to get them. All right. Any questions so far? Please ask now. It's coming along though, right? We have 2 logos and a picture. So for those of you who have your pictures and you're ready to move on to panel page 2, do the exact same thing with your next picture. You select your frame with your black arrow, file, place, or Control D, locate your image, not that one, and place it. Woohoo! It is clearly much too large. So I'm going to use the frame fitting tool. So if I fit content not adequate enough, I'm going to fill my frame proportionately. Now, where do I want to crop this image? Not sure. So let's click, hold on the circle. Do I want it down here? Let go so you can see the reveal. Oh, that's kind of nice. I could click, hold, and move it up here. No, I don't like that crop. So what I'm going to do is drag that back down. And in the interest of the rule of thirds with photography, I'm cropping out about 1/3 of the flower there. There we go. Kind of like that. It gives it more perspective up here for distance. And the content of my picture is in the middle third. So I've filled these 2/3 and this one's blank, but this is a great spot to put some inset pictures of other images that you've collected for this assignment. Now, it doesn't mean that if I click on this box, I might end up having to crop my photo in order to fit all my text at the bottom. So do keep that in mind. The nice thing about having the frame be able to crop your image like so is it gives you a lot of flexibility to bring that back. So that way you don't have to crop your image to the exact size you're using it here. First, play with your design. Make sure all your text fits, make sure you've got the crops the way you want them. It allows you to fill more space if all of a sudden your client decides to edit some of the copy out of the document. So don't worry about that. You have more picture to bring back. So that's why it's nice to use the frame tool to crop your images until, and then the very last thing you do, your client has to sign off on the design before you crop all your pictures to the exact size you need them for this document. You never do it before because inevitably someone changes their mind. All right, so everyone should have this. You should have panels, 2, 6, and 1. Each one of these should have an image now, logo, 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 and panel 3, 4, 5 should now have a picture filling about half the space. All right. Now the next thing I'm going to do, and the next thing everyone needs to do, is we're going to place our text. Why don't I just open the Word document that was provided, copy and paste the text in as I need it? Well, it changes the properties of the text when you copy from one document, as in Word. If you copy and then paste it into InDesign, it completely changes the properties. So it could outline some of the fonts. It could do some crazy stuff, and then it's hard to fix it. So your best bet always is to file, place your Word doc, and then copy and paste out of your placed Word doc. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to make a common error first for you. So if I have, the last thing I did was select this picture. See this picture? If that was the last thing I had selected and I forgot to click to deselect that picture, now imagine you're working on a multiple page document and you place the picture on page 200, and then now you have to place some text or another image on page 10. So you scroll to page 10 and you file place. If I file, actually, I'm going to click on this one. And so I can't see the page on which I have the object selected. So I've scrolled back up and I'm going to use the pasteboard, this gray area. It doesn't print. You can throw all sorts of stuff on here for your own use. And now I'm going to file place the text. So on the desktop, we have the Canadian Wildlife Federation pollinators doc. I'm going to place that open. Well, where'd it go? Why isn't it attached to my mouse? Oh, look what it did. It replaced my image in my picture box. That is bad. So what I want you to do is, regardless of what you're doing, where you are, always click on the space. Always click. And sometimes I click a few times just for good measure to make sure I have nothing selected anywhere on any page throughout my document. So you can imagine if you're working on multiple pages that you might have a box selected on a page. You do file place, and then where does it go? Now you have to find out where you actually placed it. Oh, that can be an absolute nightmare. So just make a habit of always clicking to deselect. So I'm clicking here on my surface here on my pasteboard. Now I know nothing's selected in my entire document. Even if it was 200 pages, it would deselect anything I had selected. Now I can safely file place, select my Word doc, open it, and notice now it's attached to my mouse. That is a clear indicator that you did not accidentally place it somewhere else in your document. So if you don't get this attached to your mouse, you go, oh no, I've placed it somewhere else in my document. Do a quick Control-Z to undo that mistake. Then actually it usually places, it's then attached to your mouse after you correct your boo-boo. Like the boo-boo button is the Command-Z. So now I have text attached to my mouse, and I could click and drag a box I want it to fit in, or because we set up our document for 3 columns and it was a particular width, watch what happens when I just click. I now have a text box that literally fits the width of my columns. That's pretty cool, right? So however you set up your document, if we didn't have set up 3 columns, this document would be quite big. It would be set up quite wide, like so, because it's taking on the properties of how many columns you set up for that page. So just keep that in mind. So if that was the case, what you could do then is file place, select your text. Come on now. Where did it go? Uh-oh. I had a text box selected. Carolyn, Carolyn, Carolyn. All right, here we go again. File place. Or it just decided that's where it was going to go since I moved it. So see how it's attached to your mouse? You can click and drag the size of the box you want your text to fit in. So you have several options. You can just click, let it place. It took on the properties of the column width. Or you can click and drag the size of the box you want it to fit in. It's completely up to you. And you can do that with photos too. So if I were to click away over here and file place, a picture for future use, like this is one of the pictures we're going to be using. I could click to place it. It's massive, right? Or I could click and drag the size of the box I want to fit in. So that's the beauty of InDesign. You have options there. Okay. So here's my pollinators. I need this text, pollinators. So I'm going to, I don't know if you saw what I just did there. See how I have my pollinators text box selected with my black arrow? I don't actually have to select my text tool. I can, and then highlight my text. But because InDesign recognizes this as a text box, if you double click, well, it turns into the text tool. So this is how I place text when client has given me a Word doc. Remember, there's a lot more text in this Word doc. It's 2 pages. So this is how I make sure I not only select the text, but I get all of it that I'm supposed to have. Instead of just copying this and then pasting it to another page, I control exit. I'm copying it and deleting it. So now I know I've used the text in the Word document, and this is going on panel 2. I'm going to click and drag a text box in panel 2. I'm going to control V to paste it. Now I know I've used that text out of the Word document, and then I'll continue until I run out of text. Why is this a good idea to do and leave it on your side panel? It's so you make sure you've got all the text. What if you fill your panels and you still have text left? Well, that's a conversation to have with the client on what you can edit out if all the text doesn't fit. Okay, so it's always a good idea to put your text on the side, because this is for you. This doesn't print. No one's going to see this but you. And when you've, or sometimes you've placed all the text and you're like, well, I have more space to fill. Again, another conversation to have with the client, which is why whenever I ask a reporter or a freelancer I'm working with to write a story, guess what I get them to do? Give me some optional text. If it doesn't get on there, that's fine. But if I need more text to fill space, I have optional text I can use in order to fill the space. So we have optional text. So the next bit of text, I should ask, did everyone get their text on here? And you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, whoops, that's what I've selected. You'll notice I have a red plus sign. We'll deal with that later, okay? I'm gonna show you how to fix that red plus sign. We now need what we are doing. So I'm gonna select that text, Control X, okay? And the next place is panel 3. Click and drag a text box to fill between your margins here. And Control V to paste that text. So we're slowly copying the text from our Word document, deleting it at the same time in order to know how much text we have left to place. There we go, and it's over here. Now, what we could do is create a new text box here, place more text, and a new text box here and place more text. The problem is, I'm going to select the selection tool, is we now have 3 independent text boxes and they're not linked with each other. And why is that important? Well, if I go up here and I'm going to take this optional text here, copy it and exit, and I don't need that optional text, so I'm going to actually copy and paste it into a new text box over here. The next bit of text I need is a species at risk to go on my next page. So I want to make sure I get it all. There we go. If you can see, you can help. That's good. We need everything down to Ontario and Quebec, all the way up to species at risk. So I'm going to Control X that. Okay. And I'm going to go into what we are doing. Click after right of ways at the end of that text and hit return and paste the rest of the text in here. Now I know I had a lot of text to fill. I could have clicked and dragged a new text box, but what if I want it to flow in case some edits happen here? If I edit out all of this copy, well, now the text flows into the box. I want to be able to have that text flow. So what am I going to do? This is what I'm going to do. We have 3 columns. I'm going to click on the black arrow, the selection tool, grab the side anchor point of my text box and drag it all the way across to the other side. Now that kind of defeats the purpose of the 3 columns, correct? But here's the awesome thing about that. The question is, you're going to be taking most of the text from the document as I'm doing it now. Would you be able to get the video of this? Yes. This entire lesson from when we started is being recorded. It will then be uploaded in its entirety, and a link will be shared with you under the Zoom module under contents. All right, the new Zoom module. All right, so here we go. I just dragged this entire text box all the way across. So we had originally a single column text box. With the selection tool, I've dragged that all the way across. I have now defeated the purpose of my 3 columns, and I have all this space now that I can't use, but that's okay. Because and make sure you have your, for the properties that we're going to use next, make sure you have your text box selected. If you have your type tool selected and you've got type selected in here, you will see in the properties, we don't have options to change how many columns this text box is. If I click on the black arrow and you scroll well, I did it again. I am having trouble with my, oh, look at those nice fonts. All right, I'm back to the beginning. All right, so with my box selected, I have to watch my trackpad. I'm gonna use this bar to scroll down to the bottom of my properties palette, and you can see way, way, way down at the bottom. See where it says text frame? Well, look at that. It has number of columns. You can change a single text box into as many columns as you need. And why would that be important? Because now, if I remove some text here, and I've done some editing, and I remove a few lines of text, what if I only move 1? Well, now the text flows back into the rest of the text. If I get rid of this amount of text, notice the text nicely flows back through. So that's why it's always a nice idea to have a single text box. I need to get back to my original here. a single text box. Again, selection tool to select the text box as a text object. Click, scroll down to the bottom of your toolbox to text frame, and we're going to increase that to 3 columns. That way I can have range of flow with the text. Now the problem is look at our gutters. Ew, it didn't cooperate with the gutters, right? Well, with the text frame at the bottom, three columns, well, this right here are the gutters. This is the gutter width. So what we're going to do is increase with that little arrow. We're going to go up to, what did we have? 0.5, right? There we go. We now have a 1/2 inch gutter between them. And you can see I have a little bit of proximity issues here. If you do not have enough room for all your text, what you need to do is click on your picture above your text box, grab the bottom anchor point, click drag, shorten it up, click on the top anchor point so you get the double arrow for your text box and drag that up to reveal more space. Okay, we can always recrop this picture later, but what we need to do is have adequate space for all our text. So if I now click on the bottom anchor point to push long-tailed aphid eater to the next line, it should be up here, right? Because proximity tells me, the proximity principle tells me that long-tailed aphid eater should be connected visually to the text it belongs to, right? But if I do that, take a look at Ontario and Quebec. I have a nice blue box here, meaning all my text is there. What if I drag this up? Uh-oh, I lost that last line of text, and I have a red plus sign, meaning I have more text, but it's not being revealed. So let me move that back down. What you need to do is double click to reveal the text tool. Click in front of long-tailed aphid eater and move it to the next line at the top. There we go. Now all my text is included. With my black arrow, I want this to line up with my margins at the bottom of the page. So here we go. I'm going to push that down a little bit. Now what happened? Oh, I have an extra return. So double click again to capture the extra return. Delete that. Now everything fits. Lovely. All right. Black arrow. Maybe try to get that down. How close can I get it to the bottom to line up with the bottom margin? Right there. So now I have all my text fitting beautifully, but I haven't even set up my font. What if I change my font? Guess what? You might be playing with this a little bit more again. Right now, the text you've placed on the page is based on the font and the properties that I set up in the Word document. So just take note that it will pick up, unless the font's missing, it will pick up the styles, the fonts, everything from your original Word document, which is sometimes a bonus because when I hire freelancers to write and have worked with freelancers to write, we give them the font size, the font, the style sheets, as in what's bold, what size is bold. We give that to them so that when they're writing the Word documents, they use that. So when I place their Word document in InDesign, I don't have to set anything up. It's already set to the size, style, and font. Otherwise, I have to set that all up in here to match up what my styles are for that particular project. All right, what do we have left? We still have some text left, right? We do have more optional text. Now, see that you can help, and there's some links here. That's not going to fit clearly on my page because my panel 6 needs the contact information. So I'm going to highlight the you can help. I'm going to Control X that, because there's the contact information I need for the back panel. And I'm going to create yet another text box to paste that in. So there it is. Now, since this doesn't fit, there's something we can do about this "you can help." Maybe on the back panel, after we get our contact information on there, we can mention to the client, you know what? We can send them to this link of how they can help. So here's the information you need. On the back panel, we can put a nice big "you can help" and then give them information on how they can do that and where they can find that on the website. So again, sometimes as a designer, you have to make those decisions. As a marketer, as whatever position you're in, if you need to create collateral like this, a brochure, a poster, you might have to have those conversations with the client, as in, how much information do I need to provide in here? If I can't fit it all, is there something I can do to still get that information to the client? And the other nice thing about that is, well, now you're getting them to go to the website, which is not a bad thing. Getting them to go to the website for more information is fantastic. So you now have a print brochure that's effective to drive people to the website. And once you're on the website, you can encourage them to donate or whatever else they need to do while they're there. So sometimes it works in your favor that you can't fit all the content. All right, so everyone should have what we are doing, species at risk, on panels 3, 4, 5, along with your photo. How close should my photo be to my text? In the interest of repetition, it's going to be the same distance. This 1/4 inch, it's going to be the same distance visually. Okay, so that when this is on the fold, this panel here then all lines up. So I'm even repeating the amount of space around the text. All right. So we have to add the contact information. So let's grab that. Control C, click drag, and paste. Now we'll probably want to set this up a little differently on the back panel. So with your black arrow, I'm going to move this, I'm going to center this. I might want to play around with this layout, right? So other things that I'm going to need to do, and by the way, we will take a 5-minute break, so you can use the loo, go grab yourself another coffee. I might have to let my dog out. So we'll take a 5-minute break as soon as we get this panel set up. Okay, and then we've got everything we're going to use on here except for a title on our front panel for the cover of our panel, and we're going to add the website as well. So here's my text box. I think, in the interest of the back panel, because I'm going to center all that text. Now, you don't have to have your text tool in order to center the entire block of text. InDesign recognizes that this is a text box, so it gives you the properties for that text. So I've now centered it. What I do want to do is Control+, and before we go for break, let's fix this. We are now looking at the proximity principle, which means all information that needs to be packaged together, relatable information, right? And that includes text. So with my text tool, I'm going to go to 4 general inquiries about the Canadian Wildlife Federation should all be on one line. So this is where you need to go through the text to make sure that proximity is working in properly for you, because Canadian Wildlife Federation is the name of the organization, so it should be all on one line. Then we have, I'm going to put a space here. So for general inquiries, we have business hours. Okay, our regular business hours are, let's move Monday to Friday to the next line. in front of you can. Now, that's regular business hours. It says you can contact customer service. Okay, new package. These are business hours. This is customer service hours. So you can contact customer service Monday to Friday. Saturday is a new line. And then if you call outside of business hours, please leave a message. There we go. And if you need more room, black arrow, because if you've run out of room and you have a red plus sign, then click on the bottom anchor point with your selection arrow, bottom anchor point, and extend your box in order to reveal all the text. What else can we change here? We have Monday, Saturday. If you call, please leave a message. We'll get back to you. Look at by phone. I think the phone number is more important here, not the by phone. So I'm going to select that text, Control Shift greater than. Clearly, I want the phone number to be bigger. And then Canadian Wildlife Federation, let's put this all on one line, enter, return. There we go. That looks a lot better. We now have proximity taken care of in our packages here with spaces and making sure that our text is reading as it needs to. It's a little better organized, not just visually, but as you read that, it's more organized for legibility as well. Control 0. All right, so we have a couple more things to add. We still need a title. We need the website at the bottom, and we need to fill this little panel here. Then we're going to add 3 pictures. One's going to be the rusty patch bumblebee, the long-tailed aphid eater, and the black swallowtail butterfly. But let's take a 5-minute break first. But before you do, I think you might want to save your document. So we are going to File, Save As, and we need to save an InDesign document. So let's call this the CWF, Trifold Brochure. You can save that to your desktop. Okay, so we are saving an InDesign document. We don't have very many options here. We only have an InDesign document, which is your working file, which means you can go back in and edit it in InDesign. We have an InDesign template. Well, that's what we launched in order to fill in this template. And this IDML just means it's a legacy file. Legacy meaning an older version of InDesign can open your file. Now, the cool thing, so let's just save that. The cool thing about packaging when we, oh, I already have that on my desktop. Sure. Maybe I already saved that at one point. The nice thing about what we're going to do at the very, very end when it collects everything, when we package it all together, it collects your font. It makes a font folder and collects your fonts in it. It makes an images folder for linked files, and it places all your linked files in it, such as your pictures and your logos. Here's the thing though, your text is not linked. Once you place that on your page, you edit it, it's no longer linked to the original Word doc. So it does not collect that because InDesign is meant for editing your copy. Okay, so there's no link directly related back to that file. So you might, if you wanted to keep it, you would have to manually put it in your folder, your package. What the package also collects is your InDesign document, an IDML, a legacy document, and it creates a PDF for print file for you. So it creates all of those things in one step when you package. So we will do that at the very end. Hello, everyone. Do we have everyone back? There are 23 participants logged on. I wonder where everybody is. All right. All right. More people are chiming in. Here we go. Let's see if there are any other questions. You do not have to select any of the same images I used. You can select your own images. And yes, it is upon you to make your own observations for what you want to choose for those images. All right, so what we're doing is we're visually representing, so you do not have to choose the same images I have. And actually the last 2 classes, I chose completely different images as well. So I'm going to show you how to replace images next week for when the client makes a change. All right, so right now we're just getting our layout and design done, and we're fitting in the text. And then this is our first draft that we would then give the client and ask them if, do we have everything? Is it an option to send people to a website for more information because you can't fit all the text? So those are the things that we want to consider. All right, so the next thing we need to do is on page 2, we need to visually represent the rusty-patched bumblebee, the long-tailed aphid eater, and the black swallowtail butterfly. We are going to place those images in here. Now, we could place them with the text, or what we can do is inset them in this image up here. So remember that my tools have gone missing. I better find my tools. Oh, I'm in Zoom. There we go. Here's my tools. I want you to select the frame tool. All right. And I'm going to click and drag a box up here. It's a frame. In that frame, I am going to put the rusty patched bumblebee. Now I need 3 more pictures just like it. So with my black arrow, my selection tool, I'm going to click on that box, hold Alt. Now, if you're on a Mac, you hold the Option key, and you're going to drag a copy. Now, pay attention to your mouse there. Is it going to align it? You know what? I'm going to not align it on purpose. Like that. Now we need 3 pictures, right? So now I need another copy. So holding Alt, click, drag another copy. Now I need them all to fit inside this space. Clearly, see that? That is terrible. These are not aligned, they're not organized, they're not properly spaced. Well, we have a button for that. Yes, we do. Does everyone have 3 boxes on here? Let me do that one more time. So the first thing we're going to do is select the frame tool, the rectangle frame tool. That is for putting pictures in. The next thing we're going to do is click and drag a box. If you want a perfect square, Shift is your best friend on the keyboard. It is so versatile. It does so many things. So if you hold Shift, you can click and drag a perfect square. So there we go. There's my square. I'm going to let go of my Shift key, and I'm going to select my selection tool and hold down the Alt key. On a Mac, you hold down Option, and you get the double arrow. See that? The double arrow means whatever you now click and drag will make a copy. Now, you could pay attention to those lovely green lines that are saying, hey, you're perfectly aligned. But I'm going to, on purpose, throw a copy over there. And holding the Alt key again, click, drag another copy, and I'm going to place it there. So it looks like with these overlaps, I don't have enough room to place all my squares, right? Because I want some space in between. So how do you select more than one object at a time? And we need all 3 of these boxes. Well, your Shift key. Your Shift key again, very versatile. Hold Shift, click on that frame, hold Shift still, holding Shift, click on the other frame. Now that you've got all 3 frames selected, you can scale them all down at the same time. And if you hold Shift, it stays in proportion. So now I can scale these, holding Shift, if I want to keep them in proportion, all at the same time. If I don't hold Shift, I can distort them. See how they're no longer square? So if you want to keep them square, hold shift to keep them in proportion. So I need to make them smaller so I can space them out a bit more. So currently, they're not aligned. And I'm going to drag this one down closer to the bottom. So now I have a box at the top, spaced where I liked it, spot at the bottom, and now I have to align all three of these. Shift click, shift click. I have all three boxes selected. How do I know? Well, the anchor points are all selected. So your shift key allows you to select objects. What if you accidentally shift clicked the picture behind too? That's okay. If you keep holding your shift key down and click on it again, it will deselect the object from your selection. So the shift key allows you to add and subtract selected objects, okay? So we have a button to align these. With my black arrow, my selection tool, there's my three objects selected. Let's go into our properties palette too. Oh, look, align. I'm going to align left, the edges. That's awesome. Now I need to space these out evenly because this one's overlapping up here and there's lots of space down here. There's a button for that too. Now, in order for this to work, you have to have at least two objects selected. See where it says distribute objects under align? Well, I'm going to distribute vertical centers. So it's going to take the center of each box and space those out. Look at that. Presto. I've now separated those evenly. So again, if I move this over here and I put that over there and I have this terrible overlap, this is how it works. Shift, click that box, shift, click that box. I've got all three objects selected that I need to align. So now that I've got them selected, I can choose left align. And now I need to evenly space them out. So how it knows how to evenly space them out, now that I choose distribute vertical centers, how it knows how to distribute them is it's taking this top box and this bottom box and think of them as bookends on a bookshelf holding up your books. So you need a bookend and you need a bookend and then all the books in between. So how the distribution tool works is it takes this, the very far left one or top one in this case, the other bookend, the very far right one, or the bottom one in this case, and it evenly distributes everything in between. So if I were to show you that with more boxes, so what if I had a whole bunch more boxes, like so. Here's my bookends. See the amount of space I'm leaving in between here? If I select all of these boxes, my bookends, or how it's going to distribute these, is based on the very ends, and then it's going to distribute everything else in between. So if I align them, align left, and then distribute them, distribute centers. Look at that. Perfection. So now all your boxes are evenly, beautifully aligned and evenly spaced. So now we need to fill them with pictures, right? So let's go to the CWF website. If you go to the content on the right-hand side of your page, oh, you know what I did? I placed the text, but I didn't delete it out of here. So now this is all the text I have left from my client. That was optional. This was optional, but this wasn't. So that's the discussion I have with my client. How do I give them that information when it doesn't fit in my brochure? All right, so here's the link. If you can't select it, we should be able to click on it with your black arrow. And if it doesn't link, then you can copy it, Control C, and let's paste it in the URL. There we go. We are now on the website. Now, another reason why we might want to provide more information about where you can find this information online, if you're interested in more of the pollinators, is Websites sometimes aren't the best place to, aren't the easiest place to navigate, to find the information. If you know what you're looking for, you might have to do a bit of a search, which I did when I came to this website. So in order to find that website, I had to go to their homepage, which this is their main page. I had to scroll down, and I want you to do the same once you're there. Scroll down, and believe it or not, where do we find the pollinators? Here, endangered species and biodiversity. So I'm going to click on that. And there is a search button as well, so we might be able to find that under pollinators. The information that I provided you is here. Keep going, keep going, keep going, and there they are, pollinators. So click on Learn More. And this is the information that I provided you to put in the brochure, some of it. There's the interesting facts. That's optional, that you could add to your brochure. And keep going, keep going, keep going. So where are these pollinators? Oh, there they are. So these are the pictures that we want to select. So what we are going to do is I am giving you permission to right click on that image, and you're going to save the image. Now, it might have a crazy name attached to it, right? I don't know how often you've noticed when you're downloading that sometimes the file name is made up of a whole bunch of random characters and numbers, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. So it's an algorithm that has been created by the system when you upload pictures, and it creates this crazy name. Well, how are you going to search for that? You're not going to be able to. So this is what I like to do when I'm selecting pictures off of a website. I'm going to highlight the text to the left. I'm going to Control C and copy it so that when I right click on this photo and save the image to my desktop, I'm just going to commit Control V. I'm going to paste the name in right there. And now I have the actual name of, I already have it on my desktop, all right, of this file. Okay, so then we scroll down, we need the long-tailed aphid eater, so let's highlight that text. Now, often when you see how it has the name attached here, that is called alternative text. That's when you're doing web building, you can add alternative text so that people who are visually impaired, they're when they hover over an image, the computer will read out the file name, which is very cool. So that's alternative text. So I want the name of the file to be this. So I'm going to copy the name here, right click on the image, save the image as, and paste, Control V. Paste the name of the file in there and hit save. And last but not least, we need the black swallowtail butterfly. Now whoops, I didn't copy the text first. This way I can ensure I have the right name, right? And save image as, paste the name into the file name and save. Now I have the 3 pictures. Now yesterday and the day before, a good question came up. What about copyright? Well, you are creating this CWF brochure for the CWF client. Clearly, if they already have these pictures on their website, then they have copyright access to this. So they have permission to use these photos. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing client work and you go to their website, then hopefully they actually have copyright permissions on the photos that they have there. Okay, so these are their photos, so you can use those copyright free. Pexels.com, copyright free. The licensing are all copyright. They're not copyright protected, so you can use those as well. So now that you have those 3 pictures, now we need to place them in InDesign. So I'm going to keep this website open because Eventually, we're going to need the URL to add to our content page. And we're also going to take a look at this. Look at their color theme. Their logo is teal, and they chose a complementary color, opposites attract, 12-point color wheel, with this orange. I want to sample these and use these in my brochure. So I'm going to leave this page open in the background while I go back to InDesign. Now, let's go back to panel 3, click on the black arrow, and the first frame we're going to fill, we're going to go in order of how they're listed on the page here. So click on the first frame, Control D or File, Place, and let's get the rusty patch bumblebee, and we'll place that one. Now it's not much too big. We've done this over and over. By going to frame fitting at the bottom, I'm going to fill the frame proportionately. So there he is. Move on to the next frame. File, place, or Control D. Locate your file. This is the long-tailed aphid eaters next. It's now placed. Ooh, interesting pattern on this one. And frame fitting, fill frame proportionately. And last but not least, File, place, or Control D. And grab the last one, which is the black swallowtail butterfly. And again, fill frame proportionally. You now have a visual representation of all 3 species listed in the text. All right, how'd you do? How'd everyone do? If you need me to repeat anything, new message, magic. Yes. All right. Oh, you don't have your text aligned? We'll go back to that when we apply color. Your text is still outside of the purple border. Okay, we'll go and play with text again once you get your pictures placed. All right, one thing too now that I have 3 pictures here, I see my bee in this picture, and I'm gonna click and I'm gonna move him up a bit because I think maybe it would look better if my bee was aligned, visually aligned with that picture there. I think that looks better now. All right. So this is what you should have now. We have logos, cover picture, our contact information, our pollinators. We don't have our text fitting, so we're going to fix that. We have 3 pictures, our main photo, and all the text that we need. All right, great. So let's go back to panel. Actually, we need to add a headline, right? That's not much of a cover page. It's like, well, that's a nice bee. What does this all mean? So what we're going to do next is we're going to add the website. So I'm going to select this and just make it another color here so you can see it while I show you what this is. Okay, see this text here? I'm going to zoom in on that. Okay, rule of thumb when adding websites to documents for print and for online, you do not have to have all this text. This is the text necessary for a website to find it. If you do not have this somehow in your document, it can't find it because it doesn't know it's a web page. How do the general public know it's a web page address? Because of the www. But even that doesn't even have to be in there because most people recognize that if you have a .ca, a .com, a .org, without an @ sign in it, then that must be a web address. If the web address is really long, you can leave out the www. But just to be sure, I'm going to take the www, cwf.org. I'm going to change this back to the blue underline, because that's naming convention. That's convention, right? Where if it's blue and it's underlined, people know that that's a clickable link. So we're going to highlight only, though, the www.cwf-FCF. The FCF is French. All Canadian government supported programs have to also be in French, our second official language in Canada. And then we have the .org, which identifies it as an organization online. All right, so let's grab that text. You're going to copy it, but we're not going to delete it. We're going to leave it. So Control C. This time we're not going to delete it at the same time. And I want you to click and drag a text box at the bottom of panel 1, all the way across, so it fills the margin, left to right, and Control V to paste. Now this is going to be a print document. So let's set up our text for a print document. So I'm going to highlight my text. I'm going to center it at the very bottom paragraph. And what I want you to look at in properties here is it has an underline. How do you get rid of that underline? Underline is not a style of a font. It's been added to it because that's the convention. That's how we know it's a clickable link. But in print, we don't need that. So if you take a look at your character palette here, Times New Roman, I do want to make this bold. I do want to make it bigger, so I can increase it this way. But I need to get rid of that underline. This is where it is. If you take a look at the bottom underneath these options here, see we have all uppercase. If it's highlighted, like this underline, it means it has an underline. To get rid of it, you simply click on it so it's no longer highlighted, and that gets rid of the line underneath. Okay, so that's how we get rid of that line. If I click on my black arrow, let's say it's still blue. So I'll need to highlight my text with my text tool. And what color shall I make it? Well, I'm just going to stick with black for now. And click on my black arrow to see what that looks like. It's legible, but we're going to do something to add some color later. So Command or Control 0. There we go. We now have the website on the front page of our, which is essentially working as our cover according to our gatefold design. Now we need a title, right? In order to add text, you need to click and drag a text box with your type tool. So let's click and drag a box across the top. And this is called pollinators, right? P-O-L-L-I-N-A-T-O-R. I can't see it. So Control plus zoom in on that box. Highlight my text. And I could go all uppercase. I'm going to center that again in the interest of repetition for my cover. It's Minion Pro. I probably want Times because that was the default of the program, right? The default of the program is Minion, but the text I placed was Times. So in order to be consistent, I'm going to use Times, New Roman, bold. There we go. I need to increase the size, Control Shift greater than. That's above the period. And is black going to be adequate here? Black arrow. Ooh, it's too tight to the top as well. Oh, and I'm missing my S. I need that too. So Control Shift greater than, Control Shift less than, increase or decrease the size of your text. So I now have, and I'm going to clean up my box. because I don't need a box that big for my text. Control 0. Let's see what that looks like. So this is what you should have next. Pollinators and seed and the website. Let's see what messages we have here. The text is sorted. Great. We are still going to work with some text here afterwards because we're going to add some color later as well. All right. Does everyone have that? Say no in the group chat if you're not to this point. Uh-oh. What do you need? Tell me what you need me to, do I need to go over anything or are you just catching up? I guess we'll find out momentarily. All right. We have all the text we need on here, except we have this odd space at the top. You know what I'm going to get you to do? If you haven't already moved this text box down, please move it down in the space to reveal the space above. We're going to put something here. We're going to put the logo from the bottom, and we're going to put it at the top. You use your black arrow in order to do that. And please make sure you have the blue box selected. If you accidentally double clicked and you have the orange box selected, which is the picture inside the frame, you know what you do when you click on that and move it? Oh, you've just moved the picture outside of the frame and way outside of the frame. So I need to double click that and I need to move that back into my frame. Okay, so that is not a mistake you want to make. And you also have a boo-boo button. Don't forget Control Z. In order to move this to the top, you want to click on it one time to get the blue bounding box, which is the frame. You'll notice my mouse changes to a selection, black arrow, and then when you hover over top, see how I have the little square that shows up to show that I've selected the bounding box. If you are in the middle here and you get a hand tool, that means you're going to end up moving the picture instead inside the frame. So make sure you have the blue bounding box and that little square that shows up on your mouse so that you can click and drag your object to the top of your page. Now, you already have a logo directly to the left of that. Does it matter that they're repeated like that? Nope, because they're independent of each other, right? Here's the logo. This is an independent panel. Sorry, on page 2. And we're working on panel 6, it's the back. So they're not even related page-wise. They just happen to be beside each other in this configuration before we fold it. So now that we've moved that up there, guess what we need? We need this logo, right? I'm going to make sure, Control S, that my text box is as tight to my text as possible. And with the Alt key, I get my double arrows. I'm going to click and drag and drop a copy. And if you pay attention to those green lines, see? Those green lines are saying, hey, you have perfectly aligned with the ones. So now we have the website on the back panel. Excellent. What we are going to have to do, because we don't have enough room for it, all this text over here, is what about you can help? I'm going to select that you can help. Control C. And I'm going to click and drag a new text box here and paste that. Go to my paragraph. There we go. And what do I want to put there? I'm going to hit return because I'm going to go back to the website. And whoops, wrong website. And I'm going to the pollinators page. And let's see, how can we help? How can we help? You can help. We want to take them to this page, all the way at the bottom here. So see how hard it is to find some of this information? Wouldn't it be great if we can provide them with the exact place in order to find that? So if we go all the way to the bottom of the page, we scroll down to, there it is, plant for pollinators, learn more. And there we go. So you can help. See that? This is all the information we want to share with them. So it's kind of difficult to find unless you know what you're looking for. So this is what we're going to do. We're now to that page. Did everyone find it? So we were already on the pollinators page, correct? Scroll down to plant for pollinators and hit learn more. And now we have the page we want to send them to with all this information we couldn't fit in our brochure. Well, why not send them to the website for more information? And there are also more clickable links here and more information that will be essential to them if they're going to plant in their garden. So we're going to go up to the URL up here. Holy smokes, look at all that. Is that not crazy? That's a lot of information. So we are on this pollinators page. We're on the You Can Help page. Resources. Encyclopedia Fauna Pollinators. I think there was another. Let's go back here. I just want to make sure I'm on the right one. Okay, pollinators. Learn more. Yep, that's everything. We're going to copy this incredibly long URL. Command C, Control C. We're going to go back to InDesign. And we're going to paste this URL in the box here under this one, because we're going to use that to create a clickable link. Okay, so in print, we will have to say You Can Help, go to this web address and look for pollinators, or you can have a clickable link. So this brochure can be printed, but it can also be used as an interactive PDF as well. So we have two options with one file, which is fantastic. So You Can Help. We're going to send them to the website and look for plants, or what did it say? Let me make sure I get the language right here. Nope, not that one. Your shopping power, pen and paper. What was the title on that page? It was Plant for Pollinators. There we go. So that's the language we're going to use. Whoop, back to InDesign. Look for Plant for Pollinators on our website. And then the website is below, right? I'm going to have to reduce the size of that text, and I also don't want it to be bold. There we go. Make that a bit bigger here. Whoops. Let's see. So we'll just want to figure out how we want to clean up that language. But here's the cool thing. Plant for pollinators. If we want to make this interactive, highlight the text, plant for pollinators. So that is the text I wrote in. You can help look for plant for pollinators. And then we can put on our website so that they can use the search engine on the website to find that particular page. But if we want to send them directly to that page using our interactive PDF, we're going to highlight the text. Under the type menu, you can create a hyperlink. You can select any text. You can even select an object and you can turn it into a hyperlink. So what's the destination? The destination is this. You paste in the URL in that place. And see what it's done? It's put an underline in blue there to show that it's a clickable link. If you don't want that to display in print as a clickable link, you can always go back in and take off those that style. Okay, so how do we do? I'm going to do that again. So first, we can't fit all the information. We're stuck. We can't fit all the information. We need this you can help information because the client wanted it on the brochure, but we just don't have the space for all of this. So you can help is the content that I copied from this area here and pasted here. If I hit return and go back to the website, we located the page and it says plant for pollinators. So we can copy that text and go back to InDesign and paste that text in. Now it came in as the same style, all uppercase, just like it came in, it was on the website. So this is where you'll want to set up your text. I'm going to remove the bold, change it back to regular, and I'm going to, oh, it was typed in all uppercase, which means we don't have the option to turn uppercase off. So I'm going to retype it, plant for pollinators. There we go. That would be a lowercase p. All right, so plant for pollinators. And we're going to turn that into a clickable link. And go to our website for more information. So in print, come on now. Everything's slowing down. All right. Hopefully I didn't just lock myself up. I might have as we spin here for a minute. And okay, we're back. Okay, so go to our website for more information. Gonna make that smaller, Control Shift less than. Also, information needs to be spelled correctly. That's terrible. Information. All right, so this is what I have here. Oh dear, something's slowing right down. There we go. So please have, you can help plant for pollinators. Go to our website for more information, and lucky for us, we have put the website at the bottom of this page. I can also see that this text is too tight to this text. How do you fix the leading, the space between the lines? Well, here's the type size. Here's the space between the lines. So you can fix the space between the lines, which is called leading, using the option to the right. So if you wanted that to be closer to you can help, you would reduce the leading. Oh, I have to triple click to get the whole line because it's also including my space. Oh, that's too tight. So I will increase the size. There we go. So I've now created visual space between the lines of text. All right, you can help plant for pollinators. Go to our website for more information. So they go here, but they know what to look for. But I'm going to turn this into a link. So I want everyone to highlight plant for pollinators. Okay, this is the text that we copied, right? And if you need to do it again, we can copy this. So that's the text we grabbed from the website, right? Plant for Pollinators. Learn more. We selected this entire URL. So we copied that URL and we pasted it here. So we've got this copy. We highlight our text, and now you can make this a clickable link by going under the type menu to hyperlinks and cross references. So hyperlink, and you're going to create a new hyperlink. So click on that. And it's not going, if we had this is just taking up our text we have highlighted. That is definitely not the URL, right? It's just adding the HTTP all the information we need for it to recognize it as a HTML page, but it's not going to take us there. So with that highlighted, this information here, you need to Control V and paste in that entire URL. You can create a hyperlink style, or you can have it set to none, or you can change the style of the hyperlink. So if you put none, it removes the blue color and the underline. If you want to keep that reference, you can keep hyperlink style turned on. Oh, I'm slowing down. Something's happening. All right. Anyone else locking up? I'm locked up for a second. Hopefully it clears itself. Oh, wouldn't this be a fun time for this to all disappear? All right. At least I saved it as I was going along here. I'm currently locked up, and it could be Zoom. Oh, I see I'm completely frozen. Can anyone hear me anymore? Am I completely gone? Oh, there we go. Oh, good. You can still hear me. So I literally froze there for a minute. So maybe I have too many windows open. Maybe I have too much stuff going on. So I probably should have closed off like Photoshop. I'm going to close off Photoshop. Quit. Save changes. Sure. It's called Untitled 1. So Photoshop is taking up quite a bit of the memory on my computer because I did that video, that ukulele video I shared with you. I did it in Photoshop. And so it's massive, and it's probably taking up way too much space. So now my InDesign is going, I don't have enough memory to work effectively for you or efficiently. So now that that's closing up, this is, there we go. As soon as I get rid of this and quit Photoshop, hopefully I won't freeze up on you guys anymore. See, the teacher has to make mistakes in order for you. Learn from my mistakes, learn from mine. I'm making them for you. All right, so I'm locked up again. Great. Hopefully I didn't lock up completely this time. All right, it's about to go, I think. All right, back in business. Photoshop is now closed, so hopefully I don't run into any more problems. So that being said, I'm gonna Control S and save what I have done so far so I don't lose anything else. All right, so Plant for Pollinators, we now have a clickable link. So again, and if you need to change that link, if you highlight that link you just created, go into your properties palette at the very bottom. See at the very bottom, you can remove the hyperlink. So that removes it and it goes back to regular text. You can edit the hyperlink. Okay, so you can change the style of it. You can change the color. You can change the address if it's the wrong destination. So you have options to make changes to that after you create it. So that being said, this too could also be a hyperlink. So now that I've highlighted the text, take a look at the bottom of your properties palette. We went under the type menu, but you can also go under properties palette at the bottom. That is the web address, and it's added the HTTP because it has to. You can create a hyperlink style, or you can change that to none. And there we go. And you can do the same with this text as well. You can turn any text into a hyperlink. You can even have the words click here. Highlight that and then add your hyperlink, new hyperlink, and type and paste in the URL of where you want to send them when they click here on the click here. Okay? So we now have our URL set up. Does it work in print? Of course not. But if you're sending this PDF to somebody via email, if it's uploaded online and they can open the PDF online, you can have them click on any images. Even images can be turned into hyperlinks. If I clicked on this image here, I don't have hyperlink here, but where can I find it? You can make any object interactive. You can turn it into a button. You can do all sorts of really cool things here. So InDesign, very versatile. So someone said, teased me yesterday and put Microsoft rocks or Microsoft Word rocks. It's like, no. The magic happens in InDesign. There's so many options in here. Interactivity, a play button for a video. You can even embed video. Like, come on. This is just so amazing what you can do in here. All right, so Command 0. Let's see, or Control 0. How are we doing? Look at all this great stuff we have on our pages now. Last but not least, we're adding color. We're adding color. So that's what's missing here. We don't have a visual connection to the website yet. We do with the logo, and we do with a few of their images, but you know what we're missing? We're missing that lovely complementary color that they had on the website. So let's go back to the website. And do you remember having to do, oh, I'll go back to removing the links underlined later. All right. I have got a blue box. All right, we'll go back to those questions in a minute. All right, so I want to select these colors. If you notice throughout their entire website, they are actively using the orange and the blue. Their complementary color scheme or theme is being used here. Here's the orange, here's the burnt, it's like a burnt orange. It's in the same hue values as their blues, their teal colors from their logo. So it's really well done. It's throughout their entire website. They've got this lovely orange color, and we want to take that color, don't we? So on a PC, you can print screen. Now, if you know how to do a screen capture where you can crop and the screen capture, I'm going on my Mac, I'm using Command, Control, Command Shift 4 gives me a cropping tool where I can click, drag, and that's going to be my screen capture. So it took a picture of that. There it is. It took a picture of that part of my screen. Now that I have that sitting on my desktop, wherever your print screen is, make sure you save that somewhere where you can now place it on your page. So those are the colors we want from the website. So again, you go to the main page of the website. You use your print screen button on a PC, or if you know the quick key combination, to get a specific screen capture, like on my Mac, Command Shift 4, I hit those. I let go and it reveals this crosshair, this cropping tool where I can click, drag, and select what I want. So it's taken a picture and placed it on my desktop. So now that you have that, let's go back to InDesign. And again, making a habit of clicking, click, click, click before you do anything else. You don't want anything selected while you file place your new screen capture. Okay, so this is what I screen captured from the website. I want to sample these colors. It's attached to my mouse, so I can simply click to place it, or I can click and drag the box. Does everyone have a screen capture of the colors now? Say no if you do not. Okay, we have yes. We have yeses. Okay, now that you have this placed, the next step is to sample the colors. Because if we take a look at our swatch palette and where are our swatches, well, you can click on the fill button. And we don't have many colors here, right? The only colors we have in our swatch palette are the default colors and the two colors that Word brought in when we placed the Word document. It actually has its own set of colors as well. If you cannot find the swatch palette, under your window menu, you can go to colors. So we can go to color themes. That's not what we're doing. We're looking for our swatches because we want to be able to add this color theme to our swatch palette where all our colors are available. So we're going to click swatches. There we go. Now you can see all of the colors that you have available. And now with the color theme tool, that's this one at the bottom. Now, if you hold that color theme tool down, you'll see there's two other tools in that tool set. If you have just the plain eyedropper tool, please make sure to select the color theme tool. The eyedropper tool samples only a single color. The color theme tool will select the top 5 colors it sees in what you're selecting, you're clicking on. So the color theme tool, and we're going to click on it. We're going to click on this image here. There's our colors. There's the teal from their website. There's the orange from their website. And if you click on this wee little tab here, you can see there's other options here. You can see that it's selected more options. So we're going to, and this is a muted theme, I'm going to go with the bright. There we go. I'm going to go with the bright options so I can get this burnt orange and this light orange. So I have the option, but they're both used on the website. How do I add that to my swatch palette? So here's my swatches. I click on this little tab here. Add this theme to swatches. Click. There they are. If you don't see them listed, it's because you need to open the little arrow to the left of the folder. Now it's called Bright Theme. I'm going to double click Bright Theme, and I'm going to name it CWF Website Colors. So because I have another one I want to grab the colors from, and that's the logo. Now, as you can see, my color theme tool has turned to an eyedropper, and any color I select in this realm here is in my eyedropper tool, which means if I hover over this text and click and drag, look at that, it automatically changes. So I can use this right away if I want to, or I can highlight that and use that for my swatches. But in order to sample a new image, I have to go back and click on the color theme tool. All right, it's now empty. My eyedropper is now the color theme tool again. Now I'm going to go to the logo and click on it. Look at that. There's the logo colors. I have the lighter teal from here. I have the darker teal from here. And I have the gray of the text. I'm going to add those to my swatches by clicking here. Add this theme to swatches. And there it is. Now it's called Bright Theme. I'm going to double click it. And I'm going to rename that CWF logo. So now I know where my sourced colors are from. And here's the cool thing. I can sample colors from anything. What if I sampled colors from here? I click on my color theme tool. I click on this image. Look at, there's the bee color, the grays, and the 2 periwinkle blues from the photo. You can sample anything. Click on the color theme tool again. Click on this image. Look at that. Here's the color theme from this image. Click on the color theme tool again. Click on the color colors. Oh, someone's got something going on there. So you can sample colors from any placed object, anything, which then allows you to use those colors in your layout. So now you're repeating colors from your images, and that's what gives it that nice visual flow of design, is when you can match up colors and you repeat those, you can create a really nice comprehensive design. Now that we've added those colors to our swatch palette, we don't need this anymore. So with my selection tool, I'm going to click on that. I don't need it. I've already sampled the colors from it. Whoops, 2 pieces. And see, my colors are still there. So you can place it, sample it, delete it after you add the colors to your swatches. All right, there we go. So now that I have those, I think I would like to highlight the pollinators text, and I'm going to make it orange. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to add it to contact information and make it orange. And by phone, make it orange. By mail, make it orange. You can help. Maybe that's teal. Okay, so now I'm repeating the colors from the website and adding some visual contrast with opposites attract. Species at risk. Orange. What are we doing? Orange. Okay, so we're just setting up our text, even these little bits of text here. Shall I make those orange as well? Sure. What we're doing is we're adding contrast in text, so it's easier to navigate through the text to find things. This doesn't have a space, but this does. I'll remove that space. I need to be consistent. Now we can add that to habitat. There we go. So it's making it easier to navigate through the content by adding contrast in text, and that contrast is the color. So highlight whatever you want to apply color. There we go. So I've just gone through. Look at that. That is so much easier to navigate the content. Actually, species at risk, I'm going to make the logo color. Let's see. There's the logo color. There we go. That looks better. All right. So see how it's making it easier to navigate through the content by adding that contrasting color in order to navigate. All right. Now, last but not least, pollinators. We don't have enough contrast. Plus, the front panel, if this is what you see, that front panel in a, you've gone to this nice travel place, they have this brochure sitting in the in the stands. There's no visual connection between the cover and the website or even the foundation itself, because we don't have those teal, we don't have the blues, and we could obviously use some of that orange. So this is what we're going to do. Let's add some contrast. See that frame tool we've been using? I want you to click and drag a frame and right over top of pollinators, right over top, from side to side. Just like that. See that nice X? And we're going to fill it with, I'm going to fill that one with orange. Now I've just covered up my text, but that's okay. If I right click on that box, I can arrange and send it backward. Why didn't it show up? Well, I've added more elements to my pages since then. So if I right click on that element, arrange and send it all the way to the back, well, it goes behind my picture. So with my selection tool, I'll select the picture, which needs to go all the way to the back. So think of it as sitting in layers. Right click on your picture, arrange, and send it to the back. There we go. Now we have the word pollinators, and it's much easier to read. So I don't like the black though. Triple click. What would happen if I made it the logo teal? Yuck. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to make it white of the paper. There, that stands out quite nicely. And there's a lot of nice white highlights in this photo. So that's a nice repetition of the white. Now I want you to do that to the bottom. So once again, frame tool. Click and drag a box right over top of your text. Fill it with color. This time I'm going to use the logo color because I want a visual representation, and it's a nice color contrast of the logo and the website. Now, once again, it's sitting in front. Right click, arrange. I'm going to send that to the back. Click on the picture again, this picture, right click, arrange, send to the back. There we go. And it doesn't have to sit all the way at the very bottom, does it? Let's see. Maybe we reveal a bit of the picture. Now I need to click on the text box. And using my arrow keys, I'm just moving that up. I'm going to triple click on that and change it to paper as well. There, that looks so much better. So I now have a headline that I can actually see. It really stands out. That color contrast is very nice. And then I've used the logo color on the box at the bottom. So one more time, how do we do that? Frame tool. I'm going to do it on this one as well. Click, drag a frame over top of your text that you want to add more contrast to. I'm going to add the color from my swatch palette into my picture frame. I'm going to right click on that and arrange, send to the back. That one could be white too, right? So with my text tool, triple click to select all the text, white of the paper. Woohoo, it's looking good. All right. So how are you doing? We pretty much have a finished Trifold brochure here with all the content we needed. If you want to get fancy on these pictures, let's see what it looks like without all these lines. Right now we see all of our guides, we see all of that. And the question is, what's the difference between send backwards and send to back? Send backward is going to go to the next layer based on how many objects you've placed on your page. What if you placed that object on your page 5 objects ago? So if you do send backwards, it's still got 3 more layers to go. So if you go send to the back, it goes directly to the back underneath all presumed layers. And that's why send backwards doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to do send to the back and then take the next object, send all the way to the back to get your layered options. So that's why send backward works only if you've placed your text. Then you place a box, send backward, because the text was the last thing you did before you added the box. So that's why send backward doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to go all the way to the back, depending on how many more objects you've placed on that page. All right, so we've got it. Notice this isn't aligned. the bottom of panel 1 and the bottom of panel 6. Doesn't matter. They're independent, right? They're independent of each other. So if they were being seen side by each, well, yeah, we might want to change the alignment and move this up and align it with this one. But we don't have to worry about that because they're independent pages. Okay, we've got everything. This is fantastic. So does everyone have pretty much everything? Yeah, one layer versus all layers. Thank you. That's even better description than what I gave you. All right, does everyone have everything? Say no if you're not ready to say this all yet. And if you're missing something, let me know what you want to review. And back to that question about centering your text. You don't have to have your text box, your text tool selected to do that. InDesign recognizes your text box as a text box, even if you have your black arrow selected. So if you select that entire text box with your selection tool and you go to your text down here and you align, see that? You can change your paragraph. You don't have to have it selected with the text tool. So that's brilliant. If you only wanted to center one line of text in that entire grouping of text, well then yes, you would need your text tool and highlight what you want to change. But other than that, a single click on the entire text box will allow you to change. Okay, this is driving me crazy. All right, we'll change the paragraph, however you want to set that up. We do have one problem. Look at this. We've ignored it. How do you know if you're all set? How do you know? Take a look at the bottom of your page. I have an error. Well, I'm going to double click that error. Can you, everyone see that at the very bottom left of your page? It's a red dot. I don't want any red dots, so I better double click that to see what that is. So in Preflight, and this is what a printer would use as well, when you send them your files, they do what's called a pre-flight of all your files to see if there are any errors, like missing fonts, overset text, like this is, pictures that aren't CMYK, they're still RGB. It'll flag a resolution, it'll flag all those things, and those are based on what the printer needs from you. For our pre-flight, if we want to check what our issue is, see this little arrow? Those little arrows. I click on that text frame, it even tells me what page it's on. If I click on that, it's going to highlight the place where the error is and even tell you what page it's on. Say you had 200 pages. You click on that, it takes you to the page and highlights the box that the error is in. Again, magic? No, just common sense, right? It's awesome. Does Word have all this? So this is why I call InDesign Word on steroids. All right, so we don't have enough room for all our text. We have a problem here. So how am I going to make sure I have enough room for my text? Well, let's click on the bottom anchor point of that text box. I'm going to drag that down. I have 2 lines of text I need to fit on here. So I'm actually going to close that back up again. And notice when the box was big enough to fit the text, look at my errors gone and I have no errors. It's green. The problem is it's no longer in my printable area. So I'm going to move that back up. And instead, I'm going to drag it from the top until almost, I'm almost there. There we go. I no longer have an error. I go to the bottom, there's no red plus sign. It's now a blue empty box. Great, all my text fits. But now I'm overlapping my logo. So what do? We make our logo smaller. So I'm gonna click on the logo box. Make sure it's a blue box and you're using your black selection tool. Holding Control and Shift, and if you're on a Mac, it's Command Shift. Then grab a corner anchor point, click and drag and make your logo smaller in order to give it some space between the text and the logo. Let go of Control Shift, hover your mouse inside your logo, like so, drag, and pay attention to the centering lines. There we go. Do you see that pink line that showed up? It's saying, oh yeah, you're centered in the page. I have now fixed that. I no longer have an error. Now we're ready to go. You should never save your final draft, because this is going to go to the client, without checking your errors. So that's how you check your errors. So once again, if I had an issue, there's my red plus sign, there's my error, double click. I need to check to see where that error is. I click on here and it highlights my box and it says, oh, there it is, there's the error. So as soon as I correct that error, I now have no errors in my pre-flight box and I'm back to green, no errors. So always check your files for errors. It will tell you what they are. It'll tell you if a linked file is missing. So if I accidentally move this picture into another folder, I lose the path that we found in order to find that link. So I would have to fix that link. That's for next week. I'm going to show you how to do all that next week. But today, we're done. We've got a lovely Trifold brochure. So whoever's breathing into their mic. All right, every once in a while. I think, because I can turn you off as well. I think everyone's pretty much muted. Unless you're on your phone. I don't think I can mute your phone if you're using your phone. So yeah, so some people are using their phones to log in. All right, we're done. Let's save this. So Control S, we've already got an InDesign file on our desktop. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna file package. I grabbed stuff off my desktop. I grabbed stuff out of my documents or my downloads folder. I don't have an organization of anything for this document. And I have stuff scattered all over my desktop, right? So that's a mess. We need to organize this. So what we're going to do is file, package. So everyone choose file package. Let's take a look at the summary here, what it's going to do. Don't worry about this, links, 7 links found. So that's just giving you a warning. Don't forget to check those. This is what it's going to collect. Okay, it's going to collect our fonts, all the fonts we used, including the stuff from the Word doc that we placed on the side. It's going to collect all our linked images. Some of them are embedded, some of them are not. Colors, now that's separate. We're working in CMYK. So that's the colors and inks that it will produce. Our print settings and any external plugins we had. So the ones we're most concerned with are our fonts and our linked images. So really, when you go to File, Package, you don't have to click on anything there. You don't have to click anything. You just click Package on the bottom right-hand corner. And the awesome thing about that is you named your file, right? When you create a package, it creates a new folder for you. And look at that. It even adds the word folder to the title. Where are you going to save it? I'm saving mine to my desktop. If you want, now's the time. You can save it directly to a network now. This is what it's collecting. It's going to copy your fonts. It's going to copy any link graphics. It's going to update any graphic links that are missing. It's going to create a legacy file, which means an older generation of up to CC4 is going to be able to open your InDesign file. And it's also going to create a PDF print. Now, here's the thing. Make sure on your select your preset, make sure you're choosing PDF X1A. The problem with high quality print is it does not always embed your fonts and your images. So they might be missing links. So choose a PDF X1A. And now package. Oh, I already have one. I'm gonna have to do, this is section 1. I'm just adding to my name. There we go. And then we're gonna check to see what's in there. Excellent. I can even quit InDesign at this point. All right, and let's see what we have here. See all the files on my desktop? They're all over the place. Look at them all. They're everywhere. That's craziness. But now I have this new packaged folder. I'm going to double click that and let's see what's in it. It has a legacy file. An IDML is a legacy file. So that's fantastic. That can be opened by older versions of InDesign if they don't have the most up-to-date. There's your working file. So then you can launch this and keep working. And every time you add more pictures and do that, you'll want to create a new package. And whenever I create a new package after I've gotten started, so this would be my draft that I got started, I give my client a copy. And then when they make changes, I create a new package and I put the date behind it. And then I know what my newest package is. And I just literally get rid of the old one. But sometimes I keep version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. Because that can be helpful as well. If they say, can you go back to version 2 and add that text? And so there is value to saving different versions of this. So this could be version 1. So there's your InDesign working file. That's the one you can edit. There's all your document fonts. It collected them for you. So if you end up on another computer, or if we get back to the college and you go on a lab, you can, guess what? You can open and install your fonts. So it's collected those for you as well. And there's all your links. It has collected all of your logos, your pictures. Everything has now been nicely placed in a folder called links. And there is your PDF. Let's check it. Let's double click it. I'm going to launch my PDF. Look how nice that looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. And it also has page 2. Very nice. Things I might want to change on here. I think I'm going to put a stroke outline on my pictures next time. Yeah, I could do that. I might move them over. I might add some text on the side. So there's some options there. Now, what I want you to check is, do your website clicks work? Mine do. So if you did that right and you added a hyperlink, you can actually launch the page directly from your PDF. Let's see what happens to our plant for pollinators. Oh, mine didn't work. Mine didn't work. Oh, why am I in edit? Oh, I'm in a high. I hope I'm not in edit mode here, because I did add a hyperlink. Oh, okay. It just took me somewhere completely different. Close. All right. So I don't know if you got yours to work. I'm in the professional version of Adobe, so right now it's not letting me click on things here. It looks like I'm stuck again. Of course I am. All right. So did you get your links to work? This one worked. Hopefully that one worked. Can I set the hyperlink in a way that it opens in a new window or tab? Yes, you can. So those are the settings that you can set up in your hyper. Oh, you know what? From your PDF, it automatically does that, because a PDF isn't actually a web page. A PDF is a file on your computer. So whatever you launch from your PDF remains open and it launches a new site. It will launch the website. Then you can go back to your PDF and you can choose any other links from there. So that's how that works. It doesn't need to open in a new tab because we're not on a website. We're actually working off of a document. Okay. The nice thing about this particular document too is because it's a PDF X1A, it's high resolution print as well. So not only is it interactive and you can send it via email to people, they can open the PDF on their desktop and click on it. You can also, this is also printable. They can print this off and it can be a printable PDF as well. So that's the luxury of doing it this way, is you have an online clickable document that's legible and you have a printable document that you can also send. So does anyone have any questions? One of them that keeps coming up is, do we have any due dates? No, we have no due dates at the moment. What we are doing, all of your profs are doing, is we're reassessing when things are going to be due, because one, this is your trial run this week. Were you able to log on to Zoom? Were you able to connect? Were you able to work? And we're still working with Adobe to get that final, yes, we get Adobe free for the rest of the semester, actually until May 31st is what they've committed to. The problem is they haven't flicked the switch yet. So as soon as we get that, you should be able to get it for free, and you shouldn't be charged on your card as well. So if you have any trouble with that, make sure that you're connecting with Adobe once they give us free access, that they don't charge your card for time that you still have it past that date. Okay, so just make sure you take note of that. We don't have control over that. You will have to make sure that they're not charging your card again. So now that you have this, if you're done and you're complete and you like the way you've finished your Trifold brochure, we have a Trifold brochure draft folder in the portal here. So if you go to assignments, you can go to, this is your Trifold draft. So submit your folder. What I would do is, whoops, I want to get rid of this now. So I've checked it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my folder, and on a PC you would use send to and compress your folder and turn it into a zip folder. On a Mac, I am going to compress my folder. Okay, so this zip folder is what you want to put up on the portal. Okay, so I'm going to go to my Trifold brochure draft. This way you have another spot to save your files, so it, just in case they disappear off your computer and you're like, where did it go? You have a copy of it that you can download from here, from this folder. So this is just your draft. What you got done now, great, zip it, put it up, and then you have the option to keep working on that until you get it exactly the way you want it. So you do have the option of making your own CWF, making your own decisions on how you want that to look. So there's my zip folder, and with all these windows open, too many windows open. There we go, open. So please upload your Trifold brochure as it is today into the draft folder, and you have the option to work on it before you complete it. There we go. I now have submitted my today's work. That's going in drafts. And why is it in drafts? Because I'm going to check those. I'm going to get back to you and say, oh, you know what? These are things that you can do, or your text box isn't aligned with your guides. There's going to be, what I'm going to do is create a list of what to look for. I'm going to post that. And it's going to say, Have you got all your text boxes aligned to your guides? Does all your text fit? Do you have any errors? Are you missing any text? So I'm going to get you to check all of those things. And then next week, we're going to continue with this. We have a few things we're going to do, including your PowerPoint. Remember, we still have our PowerPoint designs to do. So we still have a few things we want to revisit. And we're going to work on those next week. So please keep a lookout for the announcements, because each week I will be creating an online Zoom link for the next class. If you cannot make your regularly scheduled class, there is also a class on Tuesday mornings and on Wednesday mornings. So if you need to go to one of those, because I already had a student who is unable to make it, but wanted to make, because of work, took extra shifts so that they can cover their rent. So if that's something that you can do and come to another class, please let me know what section you're in and what day you need to come because you can't make it that day, and I'll send you the link. Other than that, this whole thing's been recorded. So I will be uploading this video of today's class in its entirety, except I think I'm going to try to remove that 8 minutes in the middle, our break. I'm going to be uploading this to the portal. So you should see a link in about 2 hours, because it takes a little while for YouTube to process a video that's over 2 hours long. Okay? So any more questions? Please ask them now in the group chat. And I'll do my best to answer them. If not, you have my phone number. You can text me. Please text me, identify who you are, and ask your question. And even if you want a private Zoom meeting to go over some of the work that you've done already, we can do that, because you can share your screen and I can share my screen. So we can work together that way as well if you're really struggling with any of this. So that's not a problem as well. What if you just need a chat? Someone called me last night just to chat because they're just a little stressed out, and that's fine too. I'm happy to have a chat with you, just to make sure everybody's okay. And so, good morning. I hope you have any other issues. All right. So, do you have any more questions? Ask now. All right. And well, it looks like we're all set for today. So if you want to review this video tutorial, please check in a couple of hours. I will be posting a link under the new Zoom in class, the class instruction, online class instruction video will be up in a couple of hours. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and please take care.